Welcome everybody to the first episode of Play Paintball Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Bird. You got former NFL player here, Aaron Brown. Is that good? Yeah. Former NFL player, Aaron Brown. Yeah. And the object of this podcast is really just to talk about paintball, discuss paintball topics, and bring paintball into the world of bring paintball into the life for the common man, right? For the common person that doesn't really know too much about it. Maybe you've considered playing, maybe you've heard horror stories of other people that have played before and gotten torn up, or maybe you've even heard the tale of people that know somebody that used to freeze their paintballs. So the object of this podcast here is just to put all that to rest, talk about it, discuss a little bit about paintball, and other topics too. I mean, we have the Super Bowl is right around the corner, right? We got the Eagles against the 49ers. I mean, we don't have the Super Bowl start. We got the big game around the corner,
against
right?
Against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Chiefs?
Yeah.
And Eagles.
Yes.
It's not the 49ers,
not
right?
The
See, I don't know too much about football, dude. But you know,
that's my job.
Yeah.
So the reason why
And we're back.
the reason why I'm on the show is because my friend here wants me to discuss different topics as it relates to health and fitness for these semi-professional paintballers and young paintballers as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, what is your experience so far with paintball? I mean, you've played a couple of times. I think I've dragged you out a couple of times to play with me. You went and played with your brother, right?
Yeah.
You guys went to, do you remember the name of the
I
place?
don't remember.
I mean, I remember the place, but I want to see if you remember the name of it.
It was one time.
Okay. Survival games.
Sure. Texas.
Survival games
Yeah.
in Texas. So most of you guys here in Houston, if you've ever played paintball, I would say at least 90% of people have played paintball at that field. It's probably one of the oldest paintball fields in Houston.
See,
Actually, it's the oldest paintball field in Houston. The guy Larry has, he's doing it right over there. He's been honing it down for a while. He's got a lot of different scenario type fields.
Yeah, I remember there's one field or area of the field where it was hilly, and it was behind there was small barricades or bunkers that you can hide in, and then we left there, and there was another area that it was more open field, and so that was pretty nice for me, it being my first experience.
Do you remember what gun you were using? Yeah, I remember you told me it was not the best experience with regard to the gun.
Yeah, because as soon as
tore up.
Yeah. I don't want to say the Titman. I know about the Titman.
Yeah.
So.
It was probably a Titman.
Well, it was awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. But my experience, right? The environment had some good players. They had some really good guns, which didn't make my experience too bad, but it just made me realize that this is a fun game. This is athletic, but you have to have the right gun for sure.
Yeah, I think the equipment is definitely a part of it, which is kind of one of the reasons that I wanted to do the first episode, because I wanted to go over the difference between speedball or competitive paintball and what a lot of people call rec ball, right? So recreational paintball, which is your scenario type stuff, out in the woods, playing at places like survival games in Texas, right? A little bit different than what we do here. What we do here is kind of more focused on speedball or the competitive side of the sport. But there's kind of a place for both, right? And so different strokes for different folks, right? Different people they like different types of paintball, right? So, do you get something that's versatile that you can play speedball and rec ball with, or do you kind of go for the more military style paintball gun that is, that looks more like a machine gun, right? It looks like a military assault rifle.
Yeah.
It shoots paintballs, but it's more military style, and so it's more conducive to playing in the field, that recreational
I think both have their advantages, but for me personally, starting off, definitely just different environments, getting used to just to being in the competitive field, because once you cross over to the next realm of things, players are better, they strategize, there's more technique involved, all the guns are top notch. So you don't want to start off in the big leagues. If you want to become a better player, definitely start, the novice arena before you advance.
Yeah, that's
Like
a good
myself,
point.
yeah, because me thinking about playing paintball more, I know where my skills are, and I know they don't even compare in that area yet.
Yeah.
I'm interested to learn because I know I have the ability to compete at that level, but like for me personally, me being a former NFL player, it's completely different than college.
Yeah.
Even though they're right next to each other, it's faster, players are even bigger, even stronger. Your technique has to be that much better.
You gotta be on point.
You got to be on point. So me having that, knowledge of how there's levels to things, I wouldn't dare try to involve myself with the professionals.
Yeah.
I would start with the amateurs,
Yeah.
especially if I haven't invested in the
Oh
game.
yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. You're not gonna jump in like first time playing paintball. You're not gonna.
You
go
want
run
to,
out and,
because it looks cool.
yeah, no, for sure.
You know.
Well, and I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize. Like paintball is easy to learn with regard to how to play, right? I mean, it's basically point and shoot, right? You're just holding the gun, you're shooting the other person. The overall point of the game is a little bit easier to understand, as opposed to like maybe football or basketball where you have positions and like different things. But as you get into the sport, it becomes more complex, right? When you start playing speedball or X-ball, which is a type of speedball, a format where you have two teams and there's a time on the clock and you have to put points up on the board, there's strategy to it.
Yeah.
And it's not simple like, run in the woods and shoot everybody. Like
No.
you gotta.
It's military tactics.
Yeah,
for
there's
sure.
tactics in general, right? So like you have your front players and your back players and your mid players, and the mid player has to fill in for the front player whenever the front player gets shot out, or your back player has to know to swing left or swing right whenever the point gets away
Yeah.
one way or the other, right? So there's also time management that goes into that, like cutting off the clock, like whenever.
What do you mean cutting off?
So there's a timer, right? There's 15 minutes overall on the timer for X-ball, right? We're talking about X-ball. So in X-ball, there's 15 minutes on the clock, and you have to get the most points, right? So if say the first point you go out there and right off the bat you get three of your teammates get shot off the break, well, you're gonna want to go ahead and concede that point, right? Stop the clock, give that point to the other team, so that you can save time, so you have more time to come back, regroup
With your team.
regroup, and come back out, and hopefully not get shot out. Three of your guys shot off the break off, in the very beginning, right?
Anytime is good.
In time, and you've wasted say 4 minutes of the clock, right? Now you have only 11 minutes to make a comeback, right? Because now you're in the hole, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now you're down 1 point, and you got to come back another point to get ahead. So you're 2 points down. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So that's an aspect of paintball that people don't really even understand.
Strategize.
Yeah, strategize. Like I think the main thing nowadays is, or in general, right? You tell somebody, hey, let's go play paintball. Like, what's your first thought? Like, obviously you're a little bit more aware, right? But you get the average person in here, you say, hey, let's go play paintball. Somebody has never played before, or maybe has heard about it a little bit. Like, I feel like the first thing they think about, is let's go out in the woods. Let's go put on camouflage.
They think
and
about
play arms.
they don't want to get hurt.
That too.
Because I've asked people to come.
Oh yeah.
And that's the first thing they say. Does it hurt? And that's you being an experienced pro player. You know, that's the part I don't think you realize. I'm sure you do, but it probably goes over your head. You know, when you're not introduced to this level, like you're running around with guns that shoot balls filled with paint, but it's at high speeds and they do hurt. They can sting, depending on your tolerance level.
Well, and I think one of the good things is that now, and it's something that we focus on at Splat, is we really focus on the low impact paintball, right? So what that means is like the paintball's a lot smaller, the velocity's a lot lower. It's a slower version of what I've started calling full speed paintball.
You still have vests.
And you still have vests, right? And of course, you want to, but it's funny because so many people come in and they get the vest. Then they play the first couple of games, they play with the vest, and then after like 1 or 2 games, dude, you see those vests, like you find them all over the place. People just take them off because once they realize that it's not as bad as it seems, right? Now, the horror stories are, people that have their frozen paintballs, right? Or people that come out and they've got these big, nasty bruises. Well, there's a lot of things that you consider with that, right? Paintball, people bruise easier than others, right? If it hits you in the right spot, it's gonna bruise, right? Even a rubber band flick, if you get hit with a rubber band, it's gonna bruise depending on where it hits you.
We're not supposed to be shot with paintballs,
right? So I guess the object of the game is to not get shot, right?
Yeah.
Like you try not to get shot. But I think that the pain is what the fact that you do get some pain is what makes it fun, right? Because you're trying not to. There is consequences. It's not like laser tag is fun, right? A little bit. I mean, people love running around.
But you don't. But
there's no consequence.
There's no consequence. There's no reality to being hit. Yeah. So, and I think that's what we're both saying. Like with the vest, people can break that barrier of, will I really be hurt if I'm hit, right?
Yeah.
So let me put on this vest first, and then let me run a couple games. I get hit. Oh, okay. Maybe I didn't get hit in the vest. Maybe I got hit in the arm, but I had the vest on. Yeah. But now I see what it feels like to be hit, and now I can take it off. I can play faster. I can focus more. It's levels.
Yeah.
But like for the inexperienced person, if you say, "Hey, let's go play paintball," they're gonna say, "Does it hurt?"
Yeah.
First thing.
And
because that was my first thing.
Yeah.
Right. Like I don't want to get hurt, and I'm being shot.
Yeah.
So it's just like
I mean, but look, hear me. So you played in the NFL, right? You got hit.
I've also started. I was introduced to being hit at a very early age too.
Sure.
Which allowed me to learn how to take hits.
Okay, that makes sense too. So I guess that's what I'm getting at. Like, so you play football and you get hit, but then you're scared of a paintball. So you see what I'm saying? Like where do we?
But see the experience.
Power?
The experience.
Yeah,
I think that's what we both come from. We have no problem dealing with the sport because we both are experienced in the sport well enough to not worry, will I get hurt if I'm hit?
Yeah. I
can easily go out and play football and contort my body, play the position, make the guy miss, do whatever I need to do, and still not get hurt. Just like you can avoid being hit, knowing how to hide behind bunkers, knowing how to position your gun, position your body, shoot both sides. Yeah. But you've developed these skills over time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. No, it's always fun, and I've always, we get a lot of people come in here to Splat that are first timers, And it's funny because, you know, every kid has to check in, right? Every kid has to do the waiver. They got to check in, and then we give them their wristband. And you wouldn't imagine how many times a little kid comes up, and I'm putting his wristband, and his hand's sitting there doing like this. And I'm like, what's going on?
You don't want to do it.
He's like, I don't want to do it.
Looking back at his mom and dad.
And I get the question all the time. I'm like, does it hurt? I'm like, honestly, the first shot is the worst, right? And I always tell the kids, like, the first time you get hit is the worst because you don't know what you're expecting. You have never played before, so you've never experienced it, right? But then after you get shot that first time, it stings. You're like, ah. But then you're like, oh, okay, it's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
But see, remember, your place is low impact.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So you're not going to get this experience in many other places.
No,
because they don't chrono the gun like you say, or take the speed off the gun, which takes the speed off the ball.
Yeah.
They don't. They're not after the safety per se of the young children.
Yeah.
Who want to learn how to play paintball. It's just come in here, whatever gun you have, you can buy a gun, but play. And come as you may.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, no, yeah, and that's one of the things that I really wanted to focus on was you have, in order to grow the sport, the kid really has to enjoy the sport.
Yeah.
I mean, you get adults coming into the game as adults, and maybe they're kind of going to get into it, maybe a little bit more, but they're not going to get into the sport as quickly as a kid would get into it, right? Once a kid has a first really good experience playing paintball, they're that much more liable to continue on playing, and maybe they don't play immediately, like within the next month or so, but they have already kind of established a baseline, right? So that they can, you know, a couple months down the line, little Timmy wants to have his birthday, and hey, I've already played, so I already know what's up, right?
Yeah.
So now he comes in, has just that little bit of an experience already behind him, so now he can, again, get a little bit better, and then a little bit better, and then a little bit better, and then they start getting good at it, and then they're like, hey, there's competitive paintball.
Yeah.
There's professional paintball. There's a league of
They start to
professional
see.
paintball players, and they can go into that and say, hey, like, I want to do this. Like, I want to do this as like part of my life. Like, I want paintball to be part of what I'm doing, right? And I think that, and this is without going way too deep down in the rabbit hole, like, as an industry, paintball needs to have a place for that, right? And even though we do have the professional level of paintball, not a lot of people are making a living off of paintball, right?
Yeah.
Unless you own a business, or unless you sell equipment, or unless you know, are a few of the top elite players that are making $60,000-$70,000 a year
For paintball.
you know. But what is $60,000-$70,000 a year when a football contract, you know, is like $200,000 a year, like on a low end, right? Or a basketball contract is, you know, I don't know, I don't even know,
Yeah. Some huge number.
some
Yeah.
big number.
Mhm.
And so we're gonna take this train break to shout out to our sponsors, Gangster Paintball, always keeping it fresh, got the freshest gear in the game. I want to thank Splat Zone Indoor Paintball for sponsoring us, and also Reskill, Upskill, Athletic Training Development, right? What?
Yes. Athletic development, sports training.
Sports training, yeah. Athletic development, sports training. If you need to develop yourself as an athlete, you want to get better in whatever sport that you're practicing, whether it be paintball, basketball, soccer, football, anything. Overall, athletic training is a big part of it. You have to be strong, you have to be agile, you have to be fast. And Reskill, Upskill gives you the tools that you need to make that happen. So now that the train's gone by, I think this is a good time to cut it off. What do you think? I think we kind of talked about it a little bit. I don't know how much time we have, but thanks again for being here, AB. With
Yeah,
me.
man. Thanks for having me on the show.
And,
it's nice.
No, I mean this is
First show.
This is first show. first of many, hopefully, and
I'll be back.
we can keep talking about it. If you guys have any suggestions, any topics, anything that you'd like answered. I'm not a professional paintball player, but I've been playing since I was 8 years old. I've been in the industry for a long time. Really enjoy the sport, and I love just to play paintball. So that's ultimately what I'm trying to do, is just get more people to open their eyes and give it a shot, right? So that's all I gotta say about that.
Thanks, man.
But yeah, man.
That's tight, bro.
All right.
Yeah, for sure, bro. That was about like 10 minutes. We got like 10 minutes, 12 minutes.
20 minutes, bro.
That was 20?
Yeah.